Welcome to the Pugilist Place Podcast, broadcasting live from historic downtown Riverside. My name is Lawrence Mejia. We are beyond thankful that you are here. Please follow us on social media. We are on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and Facebook. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Pugilist Place. We have been away for a while covering the sport that we all love so much, but we are glad to be back in the studio and talking boxing with you all. In this week's installment, we will discuss 3 topics: Gary Russel Jr., Danny Roman and MJ Akhmadaliev, and Ryan Garcia's upcoming fight on Valentine's Day. So without further ado, let's get right to it. This past Saturday at the PPL Center in Allentown, Pennsylvania, current WBC featherweight titleist Gary Russel Jr. successfully defended his belt for the 5th time against Tug Nyambayar. Nyambayar, a 2012 Olympic silver medalist, looked to become a world champion in just his 12th professional fight. Although he is the current longest reigning 126-pound champion, Russell has averaged just 1 fight in each of the calendar years since he won the strap from Johnny Gonzalez in 2016. And just as Nyambayar was an Olympian, so too was Russell in 2008. Russell, a southpaw, put his impressive skill set on display in capturing a unanimous decision over Nyambayar. The judges scored the contest 118-110, 117-112, and 116-113. From almost immediately after the opening bell, Russell made his superior hand speed apparent, shooting lightning-quick jabs and straight lefts at Nyambayar. Not only did Russell enjoy a significant advantage in hand speed, so too did he possess the better footwork, which allowed him to shower Nyambayar with a myriad of punches and then retreat before the Mongolian boxer could engage his own offense. The first half of the match was essentially Russell taming Nyambayar with his technique and skill. However, dogged in his desire to win, Nyambayar maintained consistent pressure. But because Russell is so technically gifted, he used head and body movement to slip much of Nyambayar's offense, as well as outright blocking his punches. Russell was very dominant in the first half of the fight. Also, Nyambayar's come-forward approach, in addition to letting his hands go, created openings for Russell to exploit. King Tug appeared to attempt to outbox Russell in the first half of the fight, which wasn't going to happen. Undeterred by Russell's early success, Nyambayar remained in the role of pressure fighter and closed the distance down the stretch, doing decent work to Russell's body. Nyambayar finished strong during the championship rounds. However, because he was unable to knock down or seriously hurt Russell, the champion had built up an insurmountable lead. In the post-fight interview, Russell credited his experience for his victory. He said, and I quote, "He," referring to Nyambayar, "only had 11 fights. Of course, he was a 2012 Olympian and silver medalist, but he only had 11 professional fights. I had over 30 professional fights. I think my experience alone overcame this fight." Russell has long claimed that none of the champions or top contenders at 126 want to fight him. He cites that as a reason why he has been so inactive over the past 5 years or so. Russell has also recently claimed that preserving his body is another reason that he has been so inactive. Because of his inability to land fights with big-name boxers, Russell has recently claimed that he will move up in weight should an intriguing challenger not emerge in the featherweight division. He has recently claimed that he would move up to lightweight should the right fight materialize. Russell's gift, in particular his blinding hand speed, is undeniable. His blinding hand speed is undeniable, but his gifts are also undeniable. His technical defense's acumen makes him hard to hit, but he also throws his hands, which can make for intriguing and entertaining fights. Being that he is 31 years old, the clock is ticking on his prime years. One would hope that he can get in the ring and match his skills with the champions at 126. Leo Santa Cruz, Josh Warrington, Zhu Can, Shakur Stevenson, or other top-level competition while Russell is still in his prime. I mean, how compelling of a fight would Gary Russel Jr. and Shakur Stevenson be? Two fast-twitch muscle speed guys with an arsenal of specialized skills, matching wits to prove who is one of the best at featherweight. In Russell's only career loss, he gave pound-for-pound king Vasily Lomachenko one of the toughest fights of his career. It would be a terrible shame for the sport of boxing and for boxing fans alike if Russell were to finish his career in the same way that the last 5 years have played out. Santa Cruz and Russell would be a big fight. Both fighters are with the PBC, Premier Boxing Champions, but Santa Cruz has been in negotiations for a bout with Gervonta Davis, which now may go south after a video recently emerged of Tank in which he appeared to be grabbing the neck of a woman his girlfriend and pushing her out of a venue. So we will see what the future holds as far as Gary Russell Jr. is concerned. But he really, not only for his legacy, but for the sport of boxing, really needs to be in there with top talent. There's no question that if he were facing better opposition and maybe fighting more frequently, he would be talked about with the top pound-for-pound fighters in the sport of boxing. So our second topic of conversation is Danny Roman and MJ Akhmadaliev. Former unified junior featherweight world title holder Danny Roman has recently requested an immediate rematch with MJ Akhmadaliev with the IBF and the WBA, the governing bodies that sanctioned their first contest. Akhmadaliev tied Leon Spinks' record of 8 fights to become unified world champion with a 12-round split decision victory over Roman, which was on the undercard of Luke Keeler, Demetrius Andrade on January 30th, Super Bowl weekend. 2 judges scored the contest 115-113 for Akhmadaliev, and the final had it 115-113 for Roman. The fight was an all-action, competitive, and very close. It really could have gone either way. Akhmadaliev brought intensity from the opening bell, whereas Roman appeared to come on stronger as the fight progressed. An interesting caveat to the fight was that due to a shoulder injury, the same injury that caused Roman to postpone his original fight date with Akhmadaliev, the former champion had only 6 weeks to train for a very dangerous opponent in the Uzbek fighter. Waiting any longer could have forced Roman to vacate one of his belts, and due to how long it took Roman to get a shot at the title, or both of his titles for that matter, and then acquire those belts, the fighter from Los Angeles was determined to maintain the both of them. So he was so determined to keep his belts, and he could have forfeited one of the belts and then carried on with one, but it meant so much to him to maintain both that he was willing to take the fight on only 6 weeks of training camp. So that is why he stuck to that brief training camp. Akhmadaliev, without question, is every bit worthy of being unified champion, and he fought tremendously against Roman. Remember that the fight was extremely close. It was extremely competitive. In many ways, it could have been a toss-up. However, I don't think it is unreasonable to ask if Roman rushed back too quickly from his injury, especially against such a formidable foe. Due to how great the first encounter was and how closely the scorecard was, it only seems appropriate that the two pugilists run it back. And nevertheless, Roman deserves credit for, despite the injury and short training camp, taking on dangerous challenges and making exciting fights, because that's what we want as fight fans. We want to see the best fight the best. We don't want excuses. That's what pushes the sport forward. That's what gets the fan base excited. That's what makes us so drawn to the sport. And so he deserves credit for that. But, you know, given that the fight was so close and that there appears to have been a short training camp, hey, let's see what it looks like. Let's see what the fight looks like with Danny Roman having a full training camp. So now we are on our third topic of conversation, Ryan Garcia. Rising sensation Ryan Garcia returns to the ring this Friday on February 14th, Valentine's Day, against Francisco Fonseca in a scheduled 12-round lightweight contest at the Honda Center in Anaheim, California. When Carlos Morales gave Garcia a tougher-than-expected fight in September 2018, some fans and members of the media began to speculate if King Rye was more sizzle than steak. However, Garcia, paired with Canelo Alvarez's trainer, Eddie Reynoso, who recently won 2019 Trainer of the Year from the Boxing Writers Association of America, soon thereafter, and he has appeared to improve precipitously under Reynoso's tutelage. If we can go back a little while, Garcia was supposed to fight on the undercard of Jaime Munguia, Patrick Alati at the Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson, California last September, but his opponent was arrested during the weigh-ins. When Golden Boy attempted to make a last-second fight between Garcia and Romero Duno, who was also on the card, discussions went south and both camps soured toward each other for a brief period of time. Peaceful relations resumed when Golden Boy extended Garcia's contract, the terms of which have not been disclosed, but he is reportedly, as a result of that new contract, one of the highest paid contenders in the entire sport of boxing. But when the proposed Garcia-Duno fight failed to materialize on the Munguia-Alati undercard, some on social media suggested that Garcia was afraid to take on Duno. Some in the media were also unsure if Garcia could pass the test that Duno presented, considering that he represented perhaps the biggest challenge to date for the Victorville, California native. Nevertheless, with a lucrative new contract for Garcia and fighter and promoter on the same page, Garcia would eventually challenge Duno as the co-main event on the Canelo Alvarez-Sergey Kovalev fight in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand last November. With the pressure of entering the ring for his toughest fight, in addition to the criticism from some on social media, Garcia made short work of Duno, obliterating him in emphatic fashion with a first-round knockout. In recent interviews for the build-up to Garcia's fight with Fonseca, Garcia has commented about the euphoria he experienced shortly after knocking Duno out, proving all the doubters and naysayers wrong. Yet another step up in competition awaits Garcia in the form of Fonseca, who has challenged for a world title twice, albeit unsuccessfully. Fonseca's only two professional losses came in his two world title attempts and were to Gervonta Davis by knockout in 2017 and Tevin Farmer by unanimous decision in 2018. And Davis and Farmer did not look particularly good in their victories either. So that must be taken into account. The quality of the two opponents that Fonseca faced cannot be understated, and those experiences of those two fights will serve him well when he squares off against the burgeoning Garcia. It remains to be seen if Fonseca can get on the inside of Garcia and pressure him like he's never been pressured or pressed before, essentially making the fight physical in an attempt to neutralize Garcia's natural gifts of talent, length, and speed, because that seems to be what Fonseca is going to have to do if he wants to have success against Ryan Garcia. In essence, kind of what Carlos Morales did to him. He made it a rough and tumble affair. He got on the inside, did not allow Ryan to use distance to his favor, and so we will see this Friday if Fonseca can take a page out of Morales' playbook. On the other hand, Garcia, just 21 years old, really seems to be hitting his stride with Reynoso in his corner. Undoubtedly, he is also benefiting from being around Canelo, seeing, learning, and absorbing his work ethic, technique, and his handling of superstardom. Garcia is currently utilizing his natural gift of hand speed and fusing it with his potent power to create a buzzsaw offense that can chop down anybody that ventures too close. If he throws his lightning quick combinations like he did against Duno, it may be a short night for Fonseca. Although it was a short sample, Garcia controlled the distance against Duno, thus neutralizing his strength, that is Duno's strength, which was his power, while he highlighted his own strength, Ryan's strength, which was his speed. On Friday, February 14th, Valentine's Day, we will get to see if Garcia can continue to parlay his pop culture fame, which right now stands at 4.8 million Instagram followers, into boxing fame. And I think that he is starting to win a lot of skeptics over. A lot of skeptics are now buying into the phenomenon, which is Ryan Garcia. And we'll see how many more people he can win over on Friday. Now, of course, should Garcia be victorious, the card was intended to position an eventual showdown with Garcia and former multi-division world champion Jorge Linares, who was also once high on the pound-for-pound rankings. Looking to get back to contending for world titles, Linares is attempting to rectify his career, which was thrown off track when he was surprisingly knocked out by Pablo Cesar Cano in the first round in January of 2019. Linares, in the co-main event, will have to get by Carlos the Solution Morales. Morales, who many feel gave Garcia his stiffest challenge, that is Ryan Garcia, will be a good litmus test for finding out just where Linares is at this point in his career. Having never been knocked out or stopped in his professional career, Morales will look to pressure Linares, whose chin has been suspect at times. Linares Garcia could be a coronation for Garcia should this fight take place. A fight that, should Garcia win, would announce to the boxing world and mainstream public that he is ready for a world title and superstardom. And so there are big things, huge things on the horizon for Ryan Garcia. Should he continue to keep winning? Should he continue to keep improving? As Oscar De La Hoya was making the rounds for this upcoming fight, he was even on one of the local media news channels. I can't remember what it was out here in Los Angeles, but he was actually even saying that talking to Floyd Mayweather through the media, that he's ready to match up Ryan Garcia with Tank Davis. Now, again, we don't know where Tank is with his legal standings at this moment, and who knows what that will manifest to a few months down the road. But that says a lot, because De La Hoya did not seem to be willing to put Ryan in against Tank. Even in the last calendar year, he seemed to be hesitant about that. But now, given how much progress Ryan Garcia has shown inside the ring, he looks a whole heck of a lot more comfortable with looking at world titles, a world title list, and being willing to put Ryan in there against them. So we will find out a lot about this ascending star in boxing, Ryan Garcia, this Friday at the Honda Center in Anaheim, California, in a fight that will be broadcast live on DAZN. Well, it was great to be back. That appears to be it for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will. It's always our intention to do this on a weekly basis, and we will make every effort to do so. But until next time, we want to remind you guys out there, keep punching.